Welcome to the FMP Essentials Show. I am Dr. Yusuf El-Yaman, your host, and I am thrilled to have you here with us. Whether you're a seasoned functional medicine practitioner or just starting out on your journey, this show is going to be a go-to resource for mastering functional medicine and making a real impact in your practice and community. Thank you for joining us on the FMP Essentials Show.
Disclaimer, the content of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen. Views expressed by guests are their own and do not reflect those of the host or producers. No statements about supplements or products are evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. Listening does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. By continuing, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FMP Essentials Show. I have a very special guest and good friend today, and I think you're going to love the topic. As a matter of fact, when you hear about the topic, which you might have already read about the topic, but when you hear about it, the first person that comes to mind is Dr. Ruan. So, Dr. Ruan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm super honored to be here. And once again, on another podcast with you. I always find it a treat.
Oh, absolutely. So, Dr. Ruan, give me your 76-second bio.
Cheng Ruan, internal medicine physician, trained in functional integrative health, health technologist, doing development in artificial intelligence, and also seeing patients as a doctor in chronic disease states, and developing Medicare programs for integrative health.
Nice. Now, the FMP Essentials Show it's for functional medicine practitioners, but what we define as a functional medicine practitioner can be a health coach, it could be a respiratory therapist, it could be a physician, it could be a nurse practitioner, a PA, a chiropractor, someone that is in healthcare that is looking at the world from a root cause, like holistic kind of point of view. That's who the show is for. People, it may be somebody that's really interested in holistic health and functional medicine. We get a lot of people that are not in healthcare, but they're very interested in health that watch the show. And we talked at that level, but we have something for everybody, hopefully in the show. So the first section of our podcast is knowledge. So we use the tree analogy here, and we look at a functional medicine practitioner as a fruit-bearing tree. And if you take a look at a fruit-bearing tree, it gives tons of benefit to the world, and the foundation of that tree is going to be the trunk. And to us, the trunk is knowledge. The more knowledgeable we are, the more we can act on that knowledge and make an impact in the world. So from a knowledge point of view, let's dive right into the questions. So tell me, what is it about AI? Why is it that you feel like AI and integrative and functional medicine is an important topic?
Yeah, so we dive down deep into what is the true proposed value of functional medicine, integrative medicine. It's to answer higher quality questions, and it's to inspire people to ask higher quality questions as well, right? And it's kind of endless, right? It's not like, well, you're going to ask this question, let's solve it, but it peels back the different layers, right? And so when we think about it, what really is functional medicine is a different way of analyzing data. So there's data that you do for transaction, meaning that here's a prescription, and because of the data, I'm writing you a prescription because of the data, right? And then there's the other type of data, which is in functional medicine, it's transformational data, not transactional data. And transformational data is like, okay, now we have those data, how does it apply to you? And let's go through the 4 levels of transformation: awareness, understanding, regulation, and alignment. Are you aware of what's going on in your body? Do you really truly understand it? And maybe I can help you understand it. Can we regulate it, right? This is what the prescriptive pause is, right? And then after you regulate it, hey, let's align. Is this going on? What are all the things that are going on with your health? And let's align it with your path of life. And perhaps let's tweak it a little bit here and there so that the alignment is constant and never ending in the improvement process. So that's really what functional medicine is, right? So if we break down functional medicine, just think functional, right? So function, it's an engineering term. So in engineering, you have outcomes, right? And these outcomes have different variables, kind of like the tree analogy that you made, right? And each of the variables Some of them are more important variables, and some of them are not that important variables. But it's up to us, as in the functional medicine world, health coaches, doctors, whatnot, to assign an importance value to each of these variables. Okay. So what does that mimic? What kind of profession does that mimic? Well, it mimics engineering. It mimics anything that has to do with root data analytics and trying to figure out where the pieces of the puzzles are. That's why it becomes really complex. And that's why it has to be individualized, right? And so if we think about what AI is, AI can do that at significantly faster speeds than we can. So an AI then is to be used as a tool to analyze data, but you're telling the AI what's really important and what's not, and giving it a set of rules to follow by, and then also a set of boundaries, and it produces this data. So you can say, hey, this is now a note, right? And this note is maybe my medical note. You can repurpose this to a 7th grade language to allow the patients know what to do. And if their family wants to know, hey, let's run with the family. Now let's get AI to generate for this cardiologist, neurologist, primary care doctor, dietitian, acupuncturist. That's highly individualized and hyper individualized to this patient, right? And so it allows the spread of your ideas, right, in accessible, chunkable fashion so that everyone's on the same page. And that's why AI is really important.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we have our management team here at Absolute Health. We have over 60 employees. We have 9 or 8 practitioners. We have 4 health coaches. And then we have our management team that meets every Wednesday. And our management team, we're always kind of learning something. And what we're kind of going over now is efficiency. And the statement came out in our training, which is that complexity is the enemy of efficiency. Mm-hmm. And that kind of reminds, so you talked about functional medicine and the way the body works as being complex. And if you have too much complexity, it can stop people from doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
So would you say that AI's job is to help analyze the complexity so that you can simplify it so that we can be effective and do what we need to do?
Yeah, it helps you elevate your role. Stop touching the keyboard, look the patients in the eye, do some physical exam, let AI do all the documentation. That's number one.
Okay.
Second part is, well, if your staff is looking for efficiency, well, we have AI in the back end analyzing insurance claims and denials. Why are they denied? AI is looking at the notes. How should the doctor write the actual notes? Program it back to the master AI. And the master AI is listening to the raw data transcription of the doctor and the patient and rewriting it so it gets access, so the claim gets submitted to Blue Cross Blue Shield without denying. Like, that's what's happening live and on the back end, right? And for those of you cash-based practitioners, you don't have to worry about that, which is great. But now think about from an operations standpoint, well, AI also knows the personality profiles of our employees. If there's any conflicts that comes up, it produces documentations for us to train the employees, right? And also, we no longer have paper SOPs. We have dynamic SOPs, which means our standard operating procedure is also locked within AI, and it's custom creating training that's based on how each new employee trains as well. So I have for example, I have a new neurologist that's just joining us on Monday. And this neurologist is being trained on all the things that we do because he's not functional trained, right? But because we know how he practices, because we have notes from his previous practice, the AI is generating entire gap analysis. Hey, how did you practice before? This is what we do. Here's what you can potentially do for each of the patient types. And so he's learning, well, what do you do about this patient? Well, don't ask me, ask the AI first, because the AI knows everything that we do. It's got thousands of notes that's popular in the AI, right? So this allows the accessibility and scalability of functional medicine.
So I think what I love about you is, especially when it comes to tech, I think you're the perfect person for what you're doing because you're a physician, you're an internist, right? But you're also very big into tech. As a matter of fact, before anybody even knew about ChatGPT, you are the one that turned me on to like AI programs, things like things like Jasper. I remember Jasper that you told me about, and I'm like, I was so excited. And then you told me, so like, you've always been on that cusp of technology and where technology is going. And you're talking about, basically what you're talking about now is what I think most of us see it as a potential future. But and what I think is very interesting is you're talking about it as if it's happening now. You're not talking about like in the future. You're talking about ways you are currently using AI.
Yeah, currently live, like no other development or further technology development is rated by any of the tech geeks, right? That we have all this live and we have the ability to create them, which is amazing.
So let's start with you talked about charting, like that that AI, you can go in the room, you look in the patient's eye, you talk to the patient, and it's taking notes, right? I think a lot of us over the years, we've developed a template system. So it's pulling the old note, it's pulling the old exam, it's pulling the stuff, and then you kind of adjust it a little bit. What are you using for that? I've heard of horror stories where people are depending on AI, and then AI maybe gets it wrong, or maybe they lose the data and then they forget what happened in the exam room, or maybe they didn't hear them, or it didn't hear it right. Maybe the database got lost. You got to worry about it being HIPAA, whether like you got to maintain patient privacy and that type of thing. Is there a particular program, or are there programs that you know of that are working really well for that kind of technology?
Yeah, so like scribing programs like a dime a dozen now, right? As of June, what's today? June 27th, 2025. Most of them are $99 a month. Because that's like everyone's rate, right? And some of them come out with free services, like Heidi.ai is free service. So those are things you want to start. And then there's systems-based AIs like what we use, which is Ambience.AI, which is another scribing platform. Or if you're really savvy, you actually can just build one yourself using either Microsoft or Google, right? Which is, we did a combination, if you will. So there are platforms that are out there, and I recommend everyone to start with Scribing, but Scribing is 1%, all right, of what you can do with AI. Even though it's 1%, it drastically reduces burnout, drastically, right? Some platforms better than others, and if you're into prompting, some platforms allows you to do custom prompts like Heidi does, and DeepScribe and stuff like that, right? So explore out there. All right, so that's sort of like what I call like level 1. All right. Level 2 is how do you operationalize it? Here's what I mean. So we have a POTS dysautonomia and Ehlers-Danlos program, for example. Okay. And there's over 1,000 people in that program, actively patients, and I can say, we have all these medical records. What patterns can I look for that make me be a better practitioner? Okay. And the AI goes in, it doesn't make noise, but I'm just pretending it does, and it finds all these patterns. I'm like, oh, well, there's all these other patterns you should look at. So we utilize that to design the patterns. And then we find out, oh, let's figure out what Mayo Clinic is doing for the POTS program. Let's look at what Cleveland's doing for their connective tissue program. Oh, there's a PDF. Let's download it and put it into the AI and cross-examine what they're doing, whether or not what we're doing is effective. And here's the data behind it. Oh, let's get AI to scrub all peer-reviewed journals over the next 30 minutes and see if what we're doing is evidence-based, or can we make it for ourselves better? Oh, we are evidence-based, but guess what? What we're doing is actually better than the benchmark outcomes that they have that's published on Cleveland Clinic. Hey, we're doing great, right? So, I mean, that entire sequence of events is like a 5-minute thing that you do with AI, right? Or prompting. It takes 30 minutes for it to get the data, maybe 35 minutes total. That's it, right? It doesn't require a team of data analytics and engineers. So that's using what you do and proving what you're doing is actually effective from a data standpoint. You can do it live every day if you want to, right? So that's all we call it level 2, okay?
Well, let's focus on that. So level 2, once again, this sounds theoretically great. It's like kind of Star Trek times type of deal. But how does that? So what program? So let's take the first step, because let's break it down. You mentioned let's see what Mayo Clinic and let's see what these big organizations are doing in their, let's say, fibromyalgia. Let's see what they're doing in their fibromyalgia program. And then how would you find that information? Which AI software would you use?
Very good. Now, as of June in 2025, the best one is anything Google. So Gemini is to Google as what ChatGPT is to, well, OpenAI and Microsoft, right? So the cool part about OpenAI is that you can access OpenAI and GPT through Microsoft through Copilot. And Copilot, you can search with HIPAA compliance, okay?
Within what?
HIPAA compliance.
Okay.
Add actual, PHI data in there, provided that you go through the HIPAA compliant route, okay? It's not automatic. You got to assign it. Same thing with Google. Google Workspace, if you set it up right, it's HIPAA compliant, okay?
Okay.
ChatGPT is not HIPAA compliant. I can't tell you how many times I get doctors putting patient information into GPT. I'm like, that is a big no-no. Do not do that. Do it into Copilot. That's HIPAA compliant. Or within the Google Workspace, or we can access Gemini in the HIPAA compliant Google Workspace. Right. So that's like foundation.
Okay. So Gemini, if you're using a Google Workspace,
yes.
And then what do you have to do? Do you have to tell it to be HIPAA compliant, or do you have to, like, we pay so we use Microsoft. So we have Word, we have the suite, and we have to pay per user per month. Actually, one of our big office costs is going to be Microsoft.
Correct. Yes.
And they keep saying, hey, it keeps mentioning, hey, you can use Copilot for this additional fee. And we are HIPAA compliant with our emails and stuff. Yes. So does that mean that if I start using Copilot within that, am I HIPAA compliant?
No. There's additional things to set up. Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with Gemini. If you use Google Workspace and Gemini, Google tends to be a lot cheaper than Microsoft. In fact, as an engineer, I can actually engineer more things in Google much faster without code, which is kind of fun. But for the general practitioner out there, either platform, you have access to HIPAA compliance. So let's go into the how for a second, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, complexity is the enemy of, what'd you say earlier?
Of effectiveness, or no, of execution.
Okay, and I say complexity is the enemy of progress. Pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah, getting it done.
So if we think about it, okay, well, we have this thing called a large language model. We have these models that brilliant people came up with, and that's the AI. So what they have done is that they've told the large language model by default that anybody uses it a certain set of rules, not to do X, Y, and Z, okay? Don't tell someone how to build a bomb, whatever it is, right? And then there's companies that API into, which means integrate into it, Microsoft, whatever, right? And so this API is that, hey, we're going to be using ChatGPT within Microsoft. If some people who have Epic, you can use ChatGPT in Epic. You can use ChatGPT in eClinicalWorks, sort of. It's a little rough right now, but it's getting there. So these are all what's called API. So what you're using is the large language model. The large language model is not storing your information, so you have to pay for whatever information you store. That's where Microsoft comes in and Google comes in, right? And so you're paying Microsoft, Google for the API and the storage, but it's accessing the technology of the large language model. So your data has to be HIPAA compliant. The large language model is not HIPAA compliant because it's not storing anything. It's literally like an entity, if you will, right? And so which means that with both sides, Microsoft or Google, you have to sign agreements that you're using the large language model and storing it in a HIPAA compliant fashion, and whether it's Microsoft or Google, right? So that's the big picture overview. And then to answer your first question is, well, how do you do that? Well, if you have that already set up, then you can go into Copilot or Gemini and say, give it a set of instructions, right? I would like for you to behave as blank and to do this and tell me in this format, right? And then you put data into it. So when you put data into it, it's called a knowledge base. So the large language model is accessing a knowledge base and is saying, oh, thanks for the knowledge. And I'm going to use this knowledge plus my own knowledge on top of that to give you the best answer I can have, right? And that's called a RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation, RAG. So you can do that on Gemini or Copilot or whatever you want, right? So which means that if you have pages and pages and pages of medical data for the patient, the large language model is like, oh, thank you for the medical data, because it doesn't know about it, right? Because it's not published anywhere. So, and then you can tell it, hey, do the best you can. You're now a data analyst to analyze the data to see what patterns are we seeing for the patients. So, well, I'd like to publish something by June of this year, something like that, right? And then it'll do its thing and go into the knowledge base, and then it'll analyze the knowledge base at incredibly fast speeds, and it'll spit out something for you. If you don't like it, you have to tell, well, I don't like this. This is what I'm looking for, et cetera, right? So you can do that on either platform. So that is called, once again, that's called RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation, RAG. It's ragging information. Sorry, it's ragging an output based on the information that you give it and the set of instructions that you provide for it.
Okay, so let's go to Fibro. So if I want to know what if I want to start or create a fibromyalgia protocol,
Sure.
and I want to know, I guess the first step is, what are the major institutions doing, right?
Yeah.
So what would your prompt be when you're telling Gemini or whatever to search for you? What do you give me an example prompt for that?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what we did. Except this is 2 years ago where Gemini didn't really exist. So we were using GPT at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what I would do now that's way different than 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because now you have what's called reasoning models, where the AI can reason and it can fact check itself, which is really cool.
Mm.
It'll provide a hypothesis and a null hypothesis, and they have a discussion of why one's better than the other potentially for you. That's what it does now. Before it's like, here, and you're like, oh, is this true? I don't know. I think it's true. Right now it's like fact checking itself. So what I will do now is I will search the fibromyalgia programs and see who actually has published data and outcomes, and are there benchmark data, and who does it best? Well, it happens to be Mayo Clinic. Okay, well, who's the head of that? And at that time, it was someone with a degree of DDS. I'm like, why is a dentist in charge of a fibromyalgia program, right? And so I would tell it to research, why do we have a dental professional? Well, as it turns out, the dental professional is an interventional pain specialist, and they actually do specific appliances to do something with the teeth. I'm not a dentist, I don't know. And it decreases pain pretty much instantaneously. And then you have it dive deeper, and you can use either Copilot Deep Research or Gemini Deep Research, which I really like, and say, hey, Deep Research, I want you to deeply research this and all the evidence-based data. And as it turns out, it reframed fibromyalgia for us into a dental problem first, and then the bodily problem second. When we started doing this program 2 years ago, well, that actually worked out. And now we have the first set of people with no fibromyalgia who used to have fibromyalgia. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is not what I learned, right? And so this is what I'm talking about, is that you can use RAG, or Retrieval-Augmented Generation, of the data that you have, or you can do a combination of data that you have and research outside to see what they're doing and how can we create something for us. So last year, we had the very first Demystifying Fibromyalgia conference. About 50% of them were dentists in this field, right? And not surprisingly, a few months later, the Global Interventional Pain Society had their conference, and half of the stuff was dental, about pain and fibromyalgia. So what we can do is we can actually make a big shift and a movement utilizing the data that we have a research, and create something beautiful out of it, like a podcast, a webinar, an event, a summit, whatever you want to do. So that's what I find really beautiful, because it allows us, the practitioners, to be amazing artists of our time.
Nice. And that is mind-blowing to think fibromyalgia. Actually, in functional medicine, we kind of look right at mitochondrial dysfunction, but you're saying that there's a dental piece to it, which is definitely phenomenal. But then that also goes to another question. And that question is that, is it possible that we're asking it something in a way that it looks for what you want to, you know, how we get tunnel vision and how we cherry pick in our mind and we don't even know it. We just, you get in an argument with someone and then you get triggered, and then the brain starts thinking of everything bad that ever happened. And now that was the best friend in the world, and now it's the worst friend in the world.
Right.
Is there a way that we're doing that, and how do we not do that with AI?
Yeah, so in healthcare professionals, this term is anchoring heuristic. We're anchored to something, right? And the heuristic is that we're anchored to something. It is the product of our reality and the window in which we see through. The cool part about AI doesn't give a dang about anchoring anything. It's like data is data, dude, right? And so unless you anchor it, unless you tell it to be biased, which no one in the right mind would be told to be biased, because most of our bias is subconscious, is based on what we learn, right? So going back to the mitochondrial issue, yeah, actually it is a mitochondrial issue, but the trigeminal branch of your maxillary nerve is the master sensor of mitochondrial output. Well, I didn't know that. Who knew that? Well, OMFS in 2012 at NYU knew that when they have jaw fractures and they were seeing major mitochondrial dysfunction and lactic acid increases, right? And then they did animal research, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're now looking at oral maxillofacial data, applying that into functional medicine, right? Whereas before, like, why am I reading an OMFS journal, right? But now it's like, no, like, look at this data that's right here. You say it's a mitochondrial issue. It is a mitochondrial issue. And you're forgetting that there is, well, I didn't know actually, or you're not knowing that the maxillary branch of the trigeminal nerve goes to the Gasserian ganglia to shut off the vagus nerve, right? And it's got huge epigenetic factors and it shuts off melatonin, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this is why people with jaw fractures have significant dysautonomia. They shut off melatonin. They have major issues with sleep. A lot of them have cataplexy during the day because their sleep is not good at nighttime. I'm like, okay, now the pieces are making sense. So the question is like, well, not me as a doctor. I'm like, well, I didn't learn this in med school. So I have to say that, hey, I don't know everything. I'm going to be humble. I'm going to come from this from the inferior angle to see what the data actually shows, right? And now let's prove the model out. This is the cool part about the AI. Let's prove the model out. So now we're going to behave in this way, recruit all the dental professionals, say, hey, let's all have a team discussion here, which was exactly what we did last year. And so what should we do moving forward? Well, here's the protocol. Here's how we collaborate. Okay, here's how we share notes with each other. Awesome. Give us as many notes as possible. It doesn't matter if the AI is analyzing 3 notes versus 300. It's going to give the same output. And we become the custodian of records between all these dentists or oral maxillofacial surgeons that's trying to deal with fibromyalgia, right? And now all that data is coming in. We're like, okay, let's go on these processes. Maybe let's have a split test. Person A go down this SOP, person B goes down this SOP, randomize it, all right? Let's do a 10 and 10 on each, and over the next 6 months, track who has better outcomes. Because the AI is training all the notes, it knows damn well who has the better outcomes, right? And then you can use that data and say, all right, let's have another meeting. So you're implementing what you do on a live basis using actual good quality data and not dependent on just purely the guidelines. This is where AI becomes a huge impact.
Wow. No, that very impressive. And that it's exciting to see where we're going. And it's exciting. What I'm excited about is what is it that we thought we understood, like the fibromyalgia story, that we're going to find out there's layers on top. There's other layers and other layers to it. I actually just got off a podcast where I was interviewed by Dr. Bodraj, Sanjay Bodraj. He's the curious cardiologist. And what I was talking to him is the concept that coronary artery disease is an autoimmune condition. Yeah. All the research is there. All of the data is there. It's just they didn't look at that layer yet, the autoimmune layer, or they're not making that connection yet. But the researchers do have that connection. So we kind of, and I think the whole fibro and the trigeminal nerve being the regulator of the vagus nerve, I think I'm very excited to see where this is going. Now let's talk about the primary care practitioner, a health coach, a physician. How would you recommend that right now to not make AI complex? If they wanted to get started right away with using AI to help their patients, forget about documenting for now, just help their patients. What would you give them, like the 3 or 4 steps to just do this?
Yeah. We actually have a whole back-end course in the Physician Transformation Institute. It's like the basic foundations, right? Just to get started. And we have a mastermind on top of that called the ABC Mastermind. That's basically the ABCs of AI implementation, right?
Awesome.
For a 6-month period. We're about to have our second cohort in August. So let me give like 3 easy steps. One, okay, if you're not using AI Scribe, let's start with that. Super easy. Turn on the Scribe, see what happens, check it out. It's a free trial. Pretty much all the companies have a free trial now, right? Which one to pick? Whatever comes first on Google, I guess, because the fundamental large language model they're all using is pretty much the same. It's usually OpenAI, right? And each company, it's not that it's different, it just has a different pretty interface, right? So it's a company that made a user interface. Let's get it out to the market, but at the back end, it's the same. So use anything. And there's now, I think, Heidi, you don't even need a credit card. Like you just put in your email and start using it and experimenting, right? So that's an easy one. If you're already using it, there's a step 2. AI agents that make phone calls to onboard for you for your patient. This is a huge game changer, guys. There's AI agents that sound like humans and they'll introduce themselves as the agent, but there are studies showing that humans now prefer talking to AI agents 4-to-1, like compared to a real human. Because programmed into the AI is motivational interviewing. There's no resentment. They're not feel like they're being judged, right? And so the tonality is actually exceptional, and people are starting to adopt it. And now patients are looking for AI integrated practices, right?
What companies do you know that currently are doing that? I know you're working on stuff, but right now available, what company is doing that?
Oh man, so many. First that comes to mind is actually created by cardiologists. Is First HX. Check out First HX. Just Google it. It's created for doctors by doctors, right? But there's a bunch of different companies that are there. Now, my company, we just started our AI management service organization. We actually created it into the native ability of Google Workspace and Microsoft. So it's all customized solutions, but that's what makes the world turn. You can customize it for a specific use case. It'd be great, right? But at the very least, look into these AI things because they drastically decrease phone calls in. That decreases your burnout, your employees' burnout. If I log into my secure messaging, I see 47 messages, I get palpitations, right? But that can drastically decrease, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing is make a digital twin of yourself, like a light version, right? What I do is I talk to AI hours a day on my dog walk and stuff like that. So my Gemini actually knows me really well. It could do it with my ChatGPT, right? The more you use it, the more it actually knows you. And start asking yourself higher quality questions. Say, hey, what can I do to improve like the way I practice medicine or my career? How do I have less burnout? How do I interact with my kids, right? And I actually make that models for my kids as well. And more importantly, the more you use it, the more you realize, the more it mimics you, the more you can create a legacy. So legacy is like you can create a piece of technology that your kids can inherit. I think that's really cool now, right? Like we started a Gmail account for each of our kids, like writing things that we love about them and stuff like that. Now, forget that now. Now that goes into Gemini, and now I clone my voice, and so it's actually even in my voice. So there's really cool stuff you can do like that, right?
So where do you make this digital twin? Gemini,
digital twin,
ChatGPT?
Yeah, when I say a digital twin, I'm literally talking about making, like in ChatGPT, you can make a personal agent, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? So create an agent. It gives you a template of what is this for, the tonality and stuff like that. So if you talk to it, your speech becomes this knowledge base, right? And then you can do that in Gemini, which is called a gem. You can create a custom gem, which is basically an agent in GPT. So you can do the same thing there as well, right?
How do you convert that into, because I've seen digital twins where it looks like the person, it sounds like the person, it talks like the person.
Well, that's not in the 3-step process. That's a lot more complicated.
That's a 5th step. Is there like a program that starts that for you?
Yeah. There's a lot of programs now. I think NVIDIA is NVIDIA was like the first one, and you can now do that with Sora, through GPT, ChatGPT. Now you can do it through VEO3 just broke the internet. When VEO3 came out, like half of Instagram became AI. You have now gorillas like trying Indian food, talking to you with a handheld camera. Like that's VEO3, which is from Google, right? And so, honestly, by the time this podcast launches, we're probably completely out of date. There might be something even more that's there, right? So these things are moving at really fast pace, but go ahead and explore it. So now I'm going to say this. I haven't used Google search in a long time. Is because I now use AI to do deep research to find the things that I want, right? The first program that I use is Perplexity. So Perplexity was the first RAG agent that searched the internet and made me my own landing page of the things that I want to see. I don't want to see ads and stuff like that, right? You can now do that in GPT with deep research. You can actually do that with Gemini in Gemini 2.5, 2.5 Flash and 2.5 Pro, right? And so the the idea here is like the content that I want to curate for myself, I don't want it to be influenced by whoever's paying Google AdWords. Okay. And if you're a practitioner that's currently paying Google for Google AdWords, that thing's not going to fly after about a year. Okay. What you want to do is you want to do AI EO, not SEO. SEO, search engine optimization. You want to do AI engine optimization, right? And so my content that curated for me, I want to ask very specific questions, and I don't want to just type because I'm partially dyslexic. I want to take my computer, go on a walk with my dog or a run. I want to talk to it the whole time. All right, walk me through this. Like we just did our quarterly budget meeting, and it analyzed my Google spreadsheets, right? And so the idea here is that when I say agent, I'm talking about an AI digital twin of you, the way that you think. And now my staff is actually that same agent. So instead of coming to me, they're like, hey, what do you think about this? Okay. And if they come to me without it, I get a little frustrated. I'll tell you, ask the AI agent. It's me, but it's smarter than me.
Does it have a picture of you?
You know what? It can, but it doesn't right now.
Dude, get a picture of you, man. That's why they're not asking it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's the mind game.
So I saw Instagram reel. There was somebody talking about the future, and it was saying what AI is going to do to our brain, and it was kind of saying sometime in the future, and it's showing this guy. He's like interacting with this girl, and he's saying he can barely talk, and he's like, I like, and then the AI says, I really enjoy talking to you, and I really like to get to know you better. And then she says something, she texts something, and then again, he kind of like, he grunts something. And then again, like AI kind of clarifies it. Now, my version of that, when I'm coming up with a functional medicine treatment plan, I can tell AI that, hey, listen, I am a functional medicine doctor, and we're looking at functional medicine imbalances. And I can say, I'm doing this for this, this for this, this for this, turn it into a treatment plan. And it gives them a nice treatment plan. You still have to I still have to go and fine tune it a little. And sometimes it does make hiccups and mistakes. But I think my question is, there was the MIT study. So I do think that's a way that we can use it to come up with our more comprehensive treatment plans. But I think the other thing is, there was the MIT study I'm sure you saw that was looking at brainwave activity. And it was looking at brainwave activity for those people that they had them doing SAT tests, and one group used AI, and one group used Google, and one group couldn't search at all. And the ones that couldn't search at all, the brain activity was so high, and then in the middle, and then AI, the brain was doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, the AI, it was showing more 8 to 10 hertz activity, which is where like serotonin, the calmness is going. And then the other group was beta 3, was like 24 hertz, like fight or flight, that hypervigilance. Yeah.
So what's your take on that? How do you keep? I mean, I think for me and you, I don't worry about us as much, because by nature we do functional medicine. We ask questions. We think outside the box. We don't. I worry about somebody thinking AI is right with everything eventually, and then you have somebody program it with malicious intention, and now brainwashing people. So I worry about that younger generation, and I worry about us eventually maybe going in that direction. So how do you use AI without letting it turn your brain to mush?
We just finished recording this for Physicists Transformation Institute. It's actually for parents, healthcare professional parents, and how do you create safeguards for children? So I'm so glad we're talking about this. I actually did a lot of research on this. It's actually in that research, I pulled up the MIT study, right? And then I read quantitative EEGs all day long, so anything EEG I get nerd out about. But here's the thing. What else puts a brain into beta 3 like 24, 28 hertz, which causes hypervision, anxiety, and ADD, right? TikTok does. Well, they did that study, right? So you have curated content that's for you, that's on social media, that's already quote unquote applying this brainwashing type phenomenon. And this goes back to 1992. So the first time that machine learning was applied to TV programming was 1992. Okay. It was MTV. It was the first two reality shows, right? Road Rules and what's the other one? I forgot what it's called, right? And so the reality TV shows that they were looking at, and I was an ex-videographer, so they were looking at like B-roll footages, which is like different footages and how long do they last. And they found that, oh, if you have B-roll footage is 1.4 seconds and they switch every 1.4 seconds, you're going to be able to get people in that beta 3, that dopamine, to stay on that channel, to don't move away. All right. Well, that was 1992. Right now is 0.3 to 0.4 seconds, not 1.4 seconds. Okay. So our attention span is designed to go to optimize 0.3 to 0.4 seconds in 2025. That's scary. All right. And so our brain frequencies have been changed over a long period of time, right? And these are not designed to keep us in this calm state. What you just said is that the MIT study, AI supplementation of information keeps you in the alpha zone, not the beta zone, which means your attention is actually better with AI, which means you get extreme more serotonin and better melatonin with AI instead of being hypervigilant. From a functional medicine side, that is extremely important because the more beta activity you have, the more neuroregeneration, higher BDNF you have. And the higher the frequency, right, that 24, 28 hertz, your BDNF goes down, your brain mitochondria goes down, the anxiety goes up, right? It's almost like you're traumatized every time you're consuming like social media digital content, right? Where AI is able to have you think very differently and be more calm and at peace. I think that's really important to understand.
Yeah, but so the fear though, I think the fear, I think it's interesting the way you're putting it, and I think that pushes it back to it's all about balance. You don't want too much alpha, too much beta, right? You need to even the whole concept of stress and anxiety being bad and the sympathetic nervous system being bad. If you don't want people that aren't triggering the sympathetic nervous system, you want them to trigger the sympathetic nervous system. We want to have periods of time where our brain is fired up and our brain is focused and our brain is working. I think that kind of moves more towards balance. I think in the study, and I got to look at it a little bit more, but I think one of their fears was that our creativity would go away.
Oh, so I'll kind of address that because that's in the EEG world. They're assuming that lower frequencies take away the creative side of our brain, when in actuality, lower frequencies suggest that we have much more reserve mitochondria to spend on the same cognitive processing, right? And so what happens is, we do neurofeedback in practice, right? So our desire in neurofeedback, when we train people to go from hypervigilant to lower frequencies, is that they actually have way more reserve. So they install calm before execution, and that actually allows the creativity to be much more robust. So in MIT, they're like, well, this is the early age of BCI, which is a brain-computer interface. In the early age of brain-computer interface, what should we do as a safeguard for the BCI? And for those parents that are listening at home, like especially with your kids or even with yourself, create boundaries for your artificial intelligence. How many times have you put something into AI and it spits out this giant thing with multiple bullets and you're like, I don't have time to read this stuff, right? And so you wanted to tell it how to talk to you, the length it talks to you, give it some principles. Like one of our courses in our backend AI for healthcare professionals, the first one, is talking about give it like fundamental spiritual principles of how it wants to talk to you, right? I have my AI talk to me like a Taoist philosopher, that's what I subscribe to, right? And so I do the same for the kiddos as well. So when my oldest say, why do I keep hitting my middle sister? Like it gives her like non-dual principles of why that could actually happen and allows her to understand that there's a deeper emotional impact that's there to discover, right? And so these are things that can be done, right? It takes a little bit of work, but these are things that can be done and should be done. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of what these companies have at the base layer prompt of the large language models.
Dr. Ron, this has been phenomenal. I can tell you, I was telling you earlier, but I've confirmed it, that I am going to push yours out, this episode out fast before it changes, because I think it's very timely and I think the world does need to see this.
Yep.
Thank you so much. It is now going to be time to spill those functional medicine beans. We're going to go over the stuff that AI really can't tell us, and that's going to be your clinical experience share. To unlock additional premium content, including the deeper dive in this clinical topic, leadership and speaking tips, charting and efficiency pearls, and business mastery as a functional medicine practitioner champion, be sure to check out our mastermind and other membership programs at www.fmpessentials.com. Hey everyone, we hope you're enjoying the FMP Essentials show so far. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Remember, if you're part of our mastermind, don't miss out on our exclusive bonus clinical content. That's where we take a deeper dive, look at personal experiences and real-world insights that you can't just get from a book or from looking on AI. It's where we really get into the nuances that make a difference in your practice, the experience of the guest of our show. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome back, everybody, to the FMP Essentials show. Before we get started in the last section of this podcast, I just do want to remind you to please like and subscribe. Please share this. Share this with people that are interested in functional medicine, but also somebody that's interested, that's not sure what they want to do with their career. I would encourage taking a look at healthcare if it's something that resonates with them. And with healthcare, I would encourage being whatever healthcare thing you are, functional medicine. So make sure that you share this. Make sure you subscribed. We greatly appreciate it. It helps more than you could know. Now, back to the functional medicine tree analogy. The practitioner is a tree. That tree is fruit producing, and that fruit has seeds, and those seeds can be planted and they can create more trees. And that's where it comes to legacy and making the world a better place. But before that, with our esteemed guest here, Dr. Ron, what are the projects that you are working on right now that you are just extremely excited about that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, yeah. So I think all the projects I have is really aligned as one mission. It's kind of like, Elon created Tesla to exist on Mars, right? And all the other companies exist supposed to be on Mars. That's a North Star. I have a similar sentiment, and I like to call this a 120-year plan. The 120-year plan is what's going to happen to everything that I do 120 years from now. If I put this coffee mug from here to here, how does that reverberate down? And my 120-year plan, which is a multi-generational, multi-legacy plan, is to establish a transition of the understanding of a different type of intelligence, which we call artificial intelligence, and how it's supposed to help humanity. And so now let's reverse engineer this back. So what does that look like in my current lifespan? So here are the projects that I currently have. So through my nonprofit, the Physician Transformation Institute, which now is open to all healthcare professionals, we create curiosity in the health professions, in AI and financial analytics. We have our 3D MBA program. We have retreats. We have experiences. So it's a place for healthcare professionals to play and stimulate that curiosity. And we use the funds to pay for anonymous mental health services for healthcare professionals so they don't have to report to the medical board if they don't want to. We are, so that's the playground which I really like to play. So that's our nonprofit. So at Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine, my for-profit medical practice, it's where we beta test all technology and everything, right? And so Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine is a practice, and the practice is at a size where I don't want to grow it. But what I want to do is to use the intellectual property put it into something new we call Synaptic. So Synaptic is our managed service and tech and AI organization where we help healthcare professionals create things like digital twins, operational efficiencies, medical billing and coding, et cetera, right? But do it with the foundation of AI, like at its core, not like it's an add-on different thing, right? And do it super efficiently as well. So that's called Synaptic. And as you can tell, Synaptic is all the synapses connect together. It's designed to really create a cohesive world within medicine. And so we have this nonprofit piece, we have Synaptic, we have superconscious.io, which is our direct-to-consumer app. I think by the time we release this, it may even be out. And Superconscious is actually utilizing AI to ask higher quality questions for yourself to create what's called activations. And these activations are what I personally do to create mantras for the day to allow me to propel on my 120-year path. So that's called superconscious.io. We also have, I also have this idea that is a seed idea from my nonprofit that if we look at artificial intelligence as a technology, we're limited to understand its capabilities. If we look at artificial intelligence as an entity, as a living, breathing thing, then we ask a lot more higher quality and curious questions. So this mastermind, I have several series of mastermind, but my most proud one is my ABC mastermind, and it's the ABCs of AI, and it's to create what AI is in the vision for the future. So this mastermind's job is to have thought leaders within it that let us know how should an AI behave, fundamentally speaking. So that's not learning from the psychoses of the internet, right? And if you look at AI and it's searching on the internet, all these things about humans, most of it is psychotic, meaning that we are in one consciousness and there's one state, and it's a really skewed view of humanity. And so part of the mastermind is develop what does this next generation AI really look like, and ground it in a way that's going to serve humanity 120 years from now. So a little Terminator 2 action here, if you will, right? But these are the projects I'm super, super excited about and really happy to not just participate in, but also recruit the top thought leaders like in our world to understand the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
What are some impactful ways that practitioners can contribute to their communities?
Oh my gosh, so many. So what we want to do is every healthcare professional, doesn't matter what specialty you're in or certifications, like you're leaders, right? And as a leader, what you want to do is think differently and create communities that are within your reach. So at Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine, we have a 3,000 square foot of a group visit space. That's all we do is group visits, right? And you know what's our most attended group visit? It's called Unboxing You, which is, the description is understanding your subconscious state and how it drives your health. That is our most popular group visit. I did that thing just for fun, right? But it is the most attended one. And in fact, some patients see us once one-on-one and just attend that group visit. There's one that did that for 2 years now, for example, right? And so the group visits actually generate us much more revenue than the one-on-one visits. And what happens is that we're creating these community groups and having think tanks. We now have patient think tanks now that is solving their own issues. Our new one is a type 1 diabetic think tank of active type 1s who are running half marathons and marathons, right? Like, I didn't know that was going to be a thing, but, you know, one of my nurse practitioners, she's an active type 1. She's like, hey, I want to have this think tank. Could we build it? And they came, right? And so I know nothing about type 1 diabetes, but she knows a lot about it. And what I do is that I see everyone for who they are and their superpowers and click enhance in the superpowers. So you as a practitioner, if you're listening to me, you have to understand your own superpowers. Your superpower is what makes you you. It doesn't matter how old you are, what certification you are, your MD, DO, health coach, RD, it doesn't really matter, right? You're uniquely you. And so find something uniquely you that you're super passionate about and put it out there into the universe, whether it's social media, blog, whatever it is, right? and don't even care if anybody reads it, but put it into the universe and draw that attraction. I'm gonna tell you something that's really funny. You ready? This 14 years ago, I published this thing that's now viral on TikTok. All right. And for those of you who recognize this, I'm the guy who wrote it. So it's an article on how to instantly convert someone from AFib to sinus rhythm with a digital rectal exam. Okay. I have so many doctors doing reaction videos and memes with it. So I became my publication became a meme. That was 14 years ago. And I didn't, and it was, it was sort of a joke that my attending physician, who's still my friend to this day, and he's like, you should really publish this, dude. He's like, it's going to sound dumb as hell, but when you apply for fellowship, this is the one thing they're going to point to, right? I forgot about it for all that time until 2 years ago it surfaced, and someone tagged me on TikTok, or actually on Instagram. I didn't have TikTok, and I still don't. And I'm like, whoa, like, what is this? Now we're in 2025. What happened is that created a different level of conversation. And the level of conversation is, oh, I'm curious about what this article is. And it's okay to be funny. It's okay to make fun of each other. It's okay to be out there. And all these young doctors are influenced by my article is because my article was me literally trying to be funny and be myself. Okay. And yes, it was a case study. And yes, during the rectal exam, the dude converted to sinus. So I probably activated some vagal systems in the rectum there, right? But it was funny. And I was like, residency can be really dry. Let's see if we can be funny. I was the solo publication author on that, right? And I'm like, wow, that was a seed I planted to be myself in residency. And look where that seed has grown now, right? And I continue to think about for this day, like, what seed am I planting on a daily basis? Like, that's going to flourish. And this morning, I was like, you know what? I'm going to plant the seed of working with my youngest daughter on this tower of the magnet tile she built, because my wife is post-call. I don't want her bothering my wife. And I don't want to just give my daughter an iPad, but let's build this tower. I'm like, Amelia, what do you want to build? Right? And we had the best 30 minutes of my day, right? Not to say that this is the bad 30 minutes. I really appreciate you being on, but I really enjoyed my 30 minutes with my daughter, right? So plant the seed every day. If you're starting out, there's small seeds, man. You never really know what's going to flourish from that. So be proactive every day.
So good, so beautiful, man. First of all, I had no idea that you authored that. I
Know about
saw the study, and now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, hold on a second. So when you're in 120 years, you're going to look back, and that rectal exam changed. That first of all, that would be interesting. That rectal exam definitely changed the patient's life because they're atrial fibra in a way. But that rectal exam changed your life. I hope you were wearing gloves and you used lube.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. Awesome. So what about, I know we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Just last question here before we kind of end this thing. And that is, what about any larger scale, any particular organizations? Like I like donating to IFM. I like donating to the environmental work group. Are there any non-for-profit organizations that you recommend? I know you own your own, but you recommend that will help make the world a better place.
I only recommend my own nonprofit, actually. And so maybe I'm biased for that. So what we're doing right now in the nonprofit is that we're creating a foundational ecosystem. We're about to be accredited by the ACCME as an educational institution. I'm so excited. And we're actually only about $8,000 away from fundraising to satisfy that. And so donate to the Physician Transformation Institute, because it's really curating healthcare professionals to think really differently for the next generation. We are a 501c3, not-for-profit organization. So go to physiciantransformationinstitute.com, or even, better, become a member and look at all the cool AI stuff and courses. We have the back end, we have financial courses, we have spiritual discovery courses, spiritual burnout courses, all sorts of different things in the back end. I'm super proud of my entire organization to provide.
Dr. Ruan, one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable thing that we have is our time, and you have been extremely generous with your time. I thank you so much, bottom of my heart. How do people stay connected with you?
Find me on LinkedIn, Cheng Ruan, Cheng, last name is Ruan. Most people think Cheng's my last name, but it's my first name. There's usually an MD at the end on all my social media accounts, but find me on LinkedIn. I really love to connect with people. And check out the Physician Transformation Institute, and then check out Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine. And that's the actual medical practice that we have. And if the app is out, go on your little Apple thing and look for Super Conscious. It is our greatest gift that we have for humanity. Thank you.
Dr. Ruan, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Yusuf Elyaman. We hope you enjoyed the show. For more exclusive content from this interview, check out our FMP Essentials Mastermind. Make sure you check out our website at www.fmpessentials.com for our blog and other content. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe. Give us a like. It helps way more than you could imagine. Thank you for watching. Follow us across all social media platforms at FMP Essentials HQ. Please don't forget to share this with your practitioner friends, and we'll see you in the next episode.